Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be about signs that we might have low self-esteem and what we can do to fix it. Stay tuned. So to me, self-esteem is kind of an overall umbrella arching term for our own self-evaluation of who we are and how we feel about ourselves. Encompasses our beliefs, our values, and our ability to know that we have things to put out there. We have things to offer to the world. And having low self-esteem can come with a lot of negative mental health effects that can really contribute to things like depression and anxiety. So I wanted to make a video talking about tips that you have low self-esteem and also offer some ideas on how we can start to repair that. Sign number one is that you struggle to set boundaries. And what this can really look like is struggling to prioritize your own wants and your own needs and feelings. You struggle to speak up about those things because you're afraid of rocking the boat. You don't want to make anyone upset. You have a tendency to kind of follow along with what other people are doing or what they're saying and not really putting forth your own opinions on the issue. You might over apologize a lot, say sorry for things that you don't really need to be apologizing for, and also doing this thing that we call people pleasing. I've talked about people pleasing in a lot of my videos. It's one of my favorite things to talk about because I definitely fall or used to fall. I'm working on it into that category myself. But the short idea of what people pleasing is that we're living our lives in order to please other people out of fear and anxiety. We might not want to go along with something, but we are because we don't want to upset other people. So if you see yourself in any of those examples, you might struggle with boundary setting. Struggling with boundary setting can definitely be a sign of low self-esteem because when we have high self-esteem and we value ourselves and we value our feelings and we value our opinions, we set boundaries with those things. So the best tip that I can give for this one is to challenge yourself to set boundaries. I know that can be really scary when we're not used to setting boundaries and we might think that this might make us mean or unlikable, and it could upset people. It definitely could. That could happen. Especially when we're dealing with people that are toxic or people that are used to kind of having their way with us. When we start setting boundaries, those people might have a negative reaction to that. And ultimately, it is really needed for us to be healthy and to have a high self-esteem. Because you do have value. You are a person of value, and you have just as much of a right for your feelings, wants, and needs to be heard as anybody else. Number two is that you don't feel deserving of good things, or even not feeling deserving or capable of wanting more. Because believe it or not, wanting more of something is okay. We can want to make more money. We can want to have better relationships. We can want to have a better job. Being achievement oriented is healthy. When we don't feel deserving, like we don't feel like we can have these things that we want, it can really lead us to settle. It can lead us to settle in toxic relationships. It can lead us to settle at mediocre jobs. It can cause us just to feel like we want to give up altogether. So knowing that we are deserving and we are capable of more than we are giving ourselves credit for is very, very important to building our self-esteem. So don't be afraid to set those goals for yourself, higher those standards that you might currently have right now if they're a little bit low. Have the courage to go after what you want. Number three, you struggle to make choices. Often what this looks like is kind of going back and forth on one or more options. Not that it is a bad thing to weigh the pros and cons, especially when it comes to big choices, but you kind of like to live in that kind of gray area limbo on big life choices. And then when you make a choice, you struggle to stand by that choice. Kind of telling ourselves all the time, like, what if I would have done something different? Was that the right choice to make? And unfortunately, when we're not able to make choices, or when we make choices and we're not able to stand by them, it leads to a lot of unproductivity. And when we're not being productive, it's really, really hard to move forward in life. So when we have choices to make, we have to make a choice and we have to stand by it. And it's important that you're the one making this choice and not other people. There's a really big difference between getting advice from other people and then letting other people make choices for us. So we want to make sure that we watch that. Number four is that we tend to excessively do things for other people. Kind of ties back into the people pleasing that I was talking about a little bit earlier in this video, but this can look like going above and beyond for people that, even people that we don't necessarily like just because we want their approval. And this can even happen with people that we would do other things for because we feel like we need to continue to earn and to keep their approval. We don't feel that ourselves is enough, so therefore we kind of need to pay in order for people to continue to see our value. We don't need to do that. The people that are meant to be in our life, our true friends, they're going to accept you no matter what, I promise. The people that you actually want to have in your life are not going to care about the things you can do for them or the things that you can buy for them. If your friendship or your relationship is solely based on externals, it's toxic. It needs to end. People in our life that really love us will see our value just in us being ourselves. We want to be authentic, and we want to build authentic friendships. Being authentic and having an authentic friendship or a relationship means that we are accepted as who we are right now, today. Number 5 is that we have a negative perception of ourselves. We don't feel like we're deserving of acceptance, and we tend to talk negatively to ourselves a lot of self-critical and abusive self-talk. And I made an entire video on how to combat negative self-talk, and I'll make sure that I leave that linked below. And the reason that I made a video about it is because there is a whole process to undoing that negative internal dialogue, and it's a little bit more difficult than just start talking nicely to yourself, in my opinion, and also in my experience. It's harder to do. But when we have low self-esteem, we tend to not be very nice to ourselves, and we really do need to work on building a more positive relationship with ourselves and kind of practicing that self-acceptance and self-love piece. As much as cheesy as that might sound, I know a lot of people say that, but really the most important relationship that we're ever going to have is actually with ourselves. And when we have a problematic relationship with ourselves, that is going to contribute to low self-esteem. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, consider subscribing to my channel. I release 2 new videos every single week. I'm a psychotherapist. On this channel, I talk about relationships, I talk about mental health, I talk about tips, strategies on how to have good mental health, and I would love it if you would join this community. So make sure that you hit the subscribe button.